everyone. My name is Stephanie Fender. I work for the Coveros team. I've worked for Coveros and TechWell for over 10 years. I'm a client advocate for those who schedule on-site training and consulting engagements.
Hey everyone, I'm Mike Sowers, and I've been with Coveros for 6 years, and I lead our training business. I do some training myself and consulting, and I also help with the programming of our conferences. Great to have you with us today.
So I hear from quite a few clients that are new to automation, or their company is new to automation. Do you have any suggestions for these newbies, Mike?
Yeah, I think a few things, Stephanie. First, I think everybody knows, I always like to say that automation is not a silver bullet. It's necessary, but it's not sufficient. And then second, like any great project that we want to implement, we need to understand where we are today and then decide where we'd like to be and then how we're going to get there. So things like conducting a gap analysis, identifying the key pain points, the key opportunities, and then establishing a vision and a roadmap to get there are important. And then third, like any great thing that we build, we really need some kind of an architecture, like a picture that speaks to how different automation capabilities work together to support all the workflows.
So what about the folks that are further along in their automation journey, that need help with refinement? I hear questions about that a lot. Do you have any suggestions for those folks?
Great question. Yeah. A key tenet of Agile and DevOps is this whole idea of continuous development, continuous testing, continuous delivery, continuous deployment, but also continuous learning. So for those teams and organizations that are more mature and experienced with automation, simply asking the what's next question can help. For example, if a team has mastered the automation of unit test, maybe the next opportunity is to drive further left and apply some static analysis, some things like code scans or security scans, open source library usage scans, or complexity analysis, and so forth. Or if a team is consistently and effectively deploying changes from their local development environment into their DIT, their developer integration and test environment, then maybe the next step is to extend their pipeline into the systems integration and test environment, or the SIT environment. I think the key is conducting regular assessments of your capability and your tooling and your processes, and then identifying the next opportunities and putting a plan in place to continually close those gaps. And as you know, we work with several organizations. We're working with an organization right now, which is a financial services company, which is following this approach. We've helped them do an assessment of their current state, helped them identify gaps, helped them to lay out a roadmap, and then we're helping them to close those gaps. And now we're assisting them with some hands-on implementation of their CI and CD pipeline.
So paint the community a picture, Mike. Who should be involved in automation on a team?
Well, of course, the right answer is any key stakeholder, Stephanie. But the most important thing is to identify who the key stakeholders are. Team members vary based on the category of automation, as I mentioned before. If the focus is automating the CI/CD pipeline, then roles such as architects, developers, release engineers, change or configuration management team members, DevOps engineers, operations team members, infrastructure engineers, security team members, compliance, lots of roles there that we want to think about as key stakeholders. From a test automation perspective, roles such as the test architect, the test designer, or test execution engineer. Of course, the test automator, developers themselves, again, change management, configuration management, and then even non-functional testing specialists, such as performance testers, usability engineers, and so forth. And I always like to remind teams that, automation is not testing. Automation really supports testing. So key stakeholders really want to be involved up front to decide what the important testing is to do, and then to have automation support that.
So I also get tons of questions about tools.
Mm-hmm.
When should a client, so this two-part question, when should a client choose open source versus commercial? And then also, do we help clients set up their pipelines?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with those two questions. Indeed, we have thousands of tool choices these days, both open source and commercial. Both of those are good choices, or even a mix of those two are good choices. Open source comes with some benefits, challenges, and constraints, as do the commercial tool sets. For me, the key is the team, the organization, the enterprise's requirements. And so we must treat the selection and implementation of tools just like a well-run project. This means that we've got to first define our tool requirements and then evaluate the available tools that are available to us in the marketplace. Usually when we work with clients, we recommend a 7-step approach. Conduct a gap analysis, specify tool requirements, survey the market of available open source and commercial tools, attend or engage in demos of tools, and then pilot the tool on your projects using your processes. And that one point I can't amplify or emphasize enough. It's really important to bring a tool in-house and try it out on your projects and your processes, because that's when you find the deficiencies. And then simply next, select the tool that best fits your requirements, and then continually refine that tool and the methodology that supports it. As I mentioned earlier, I think having a picture or an architecture or a vision of how all these tools fit together is also important and useful.
The last question for you, Mike. Let's take a trip down memory lane. In all of your years of coaching and consulting, how have you seen automation evolve?
Did you just ask how old I was?
No.
Actually, my first automation project was testing the reliability of a point-of-sale keyboard. In that project, I used actually an air-driven fixture that was programmed with punch cards, believe it or not, right? So that gives you some insight to how long I'd been in the software engineering business. But seriously, from a testing perspective, we initially tried to automate using record playback, and we did that mostly for regression test. Then we discovered that we could create automation using scripts and functions. These were really blocks of automation functionality, and reused them. And then next we discovered that it was beneficial to separate the data from the scripts. Thus, we could reuse the scripts with different data sets so we can do different types of testing, but use that same test infrastructure. And then next we moved to something that was called action or keyword-driven testing, which is essentially allowed our scripts to be referenced with simple keywords or a language of the business workflow. Things like check balance or log in are examples of keywords. And then we moved to codeless or point and click or drag and drop automation. And now, of course, we're seeing the application of AI in test automation. From a code movement perspective, automating the movement of code from the developer's local environment through to production, that is now rapidly being adopted as we extend Agile and DevOps. So here too, we've started with some less sophisticated tools. And now existing tools are getting better and better, and even new tools are continue to emerge. So tools like Docker, Jenkins, Chef, Kubernetes, Ansible, maybe you've heard some of these names, help us wire together the movement of code. Of course, again, it's important to assess where we are, identify the opportunities, create some type of implementation roadmap, and then understand how our existing or our new tools are going to integrate with our tool architecture, and then just continually learn and continually build out our pipeline.
Well, those are all of my questions for you today, Mike. Thank you so much. I wanted to let the community know that we've got a few upcoming live virtuals that focus on automation. The first is a Fundamentals of Automation course in April, and then an Agile Test Automation course in May. If you prefer instructor-led on-site at your company, we can also offer those courses to you in that form too.
Great to be with you today, Stephanie, and thanks everyone out there for being with us and listening in on our blog. I just wanted to lift up our conferences. We have 6 conferences a year. 3 of those are focused on software testing and test automation and methodology and leadership. And another 3 are focused on Agile and DevOps. So look for those on our techwell.com website. And as always, we're here to assist you with both mentoring and coaching, as well as consulting if you need us.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.